Welcome back to the JVin YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I've been making $30,000 a month exporting fruit to Japan. I'm going to take you guys to the port with me to show you guys the process of getting into the port, what kind of documents you need, what it looks like to drop off a container full of grapes. Then after that, we're going to come back home, wash the semi truck, and talk about my favorite part, the numbers. My biggest month this year has been $47,000 in 1 month, and my slowest month was $11,000. So I'm excited to show you guys the profit, which is my favorite part, show you guys what it looks like, our expenses, what it costs to operate the business. Then after that, we're going to come right back home, do a Q&A that I posted on my Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you leave a follow for next video. I can answer some of your questions and drop some questions down below. So let's get out of here, boys. All right, real quick before we get in, all you need to get in is a TWIC card, which is a federal ID that allows you access into secure restricted areas that are not open to the general public. It is pretty easy to obtain, takes about a month, maybe a little longer for some people, but that's all you need to get into the port. We're about to check in right now. This container that I have, we're gonna disconnect it, check in with our booking so we can go to the right boat and get it unloaded. Should take about 30 minutes. Wow, that's pretty crazy. It is completely empty. Okay, so once we get past the ID check, we're gonna go to the speaker here. We're gonna give them our booking number, and our booking number is a number they use to identify what boat this container is gonna go on. And after that, easy work. All right, and just like that, we're inside. That was honestly pretty fast. We got the paper showing that all the information is correct. Booking matches the boat is gonna go on. So the next step is to get in line for the giant forklifts to come. They're gonna remove about 40,000 pounds off this trailer and load it out to the boat. Now the boat is here today, so I'm gonna be able to show you guys that. And another cool thing is we're right at the edge of San Francisco. All right, so the whole check-in process went pretty smooth. Now we're just waiting for the big forklift to remove this container, and it's gonna go directly onto that ship right there, right on its way to Japan. So let's get this finished up and we'll get out of here. All right, so we got assigned our location finally, and there is the forklift I was talking about. There it is. 1,200 bucks secure. Every part of this process always has some kind of power where the container needs to connect to. So these containers right here, once they're dropped, they have to connect them to power to make sure that the fruit stays at the correct temperature. And then once they load them onto the boats as well too, however the trip takes 3-4 weeks, heading over to Japan, it always has to stay at cold temperature. So that's always pretty interesting how they have a process for all that. And of course, all that costs money. So, and we're done for today. It's still pretty early and nice and sunny. Let's get out of here. All right, guys, so we just finished up the ingating process. Took about 25 minutes today. We got really lucky. It was nice and empty. We're gonna head home, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about my favorite part, how much profit we keep after everything is said and done. So let's head home and wash this truck and talk about some numbers. All right, guys, and just before we get home, we're gonna give the truck a good wash because it's really dirty, and talk to you guys a little bit about the numbers in the business. So let's get this wash started. Really on some global, you know what I'm saying, huh? I really got motion on him. Stepping like Stetson, they know that I've been it. I ain't never been timid. I'm trying to push on my limits. All right, we came home to finish this part of the video. There was way too much noise going on while the semi-truck was getting washed. So let's get straight into it. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, my biggest month that the business brought in was $47,700 that we brought in gross revenue. And my slowest month was $11,450. So let's break down how much profit I keep in the month where I made the most money this year. That month, my one truck that I drive is working 6 days a week. The whole month we're fully booked. We're doing one load a day at paying $1,200 each load. And like I said, working really long hours. I am trying to get away from working that many hours at a time and adding a second truck in the future, but it's still hard work and it pays really well. So in 1 week, that one truck brings in $7,200, which brings us to a total for the month of $28,800. Now you may be wondering, where does the rest of the money come from considering I only have one truck? Now this is a really cool part. So after 4 years of being in the business, I built many relationships with different brokers, dispatchers, and different kinds of customers. Now this month, I had a lot of extra work that I couldn't do. So what we owner operators do, I have a couple friends that I'm really close with. They have their own trucking company, and when we're slow, we kind of hit each other up. Hey, I have some extra work, can you take care of it? Yes, I can. Okay, give me a cut, take care of the rest of the load, and vice versa. Sometimes when I'm slow, I hit them up. Hey, do you have an extra work? Yes, I do. They take a cut and I get the load done. So that month I had a lot of extra work. Some of it was flatbed, dry van, just all kinds of work around that time of the year, and I was able to bring in an extra $18,900 in extra loads, but I only kept a profit of $2,300, which is pretty cool considering that money came from just having really good connections. Now let's get to how much profit I keep. So my fuel bill for that month was $9,000 for that one truck, which is pretty high. My fixed cost for the business is $2,200. That includes my monthly truck payment and my monthly insurance payment. So that price does not change no matter what. If I don't work, I have to pay those $2,200. So once we add up what the one truck brought in, the money I made from the extra loads, and then we deduct our fuel and insurance, we're left with a profit of $19,900 for 1 month, which is pretty good money considering I have one truck. Now remember, this was my highest month and we only brought in $20,000. So what I end up doing is I have to manage this money correctly, because in the month where I brought in the $11,400, the truck only kept profit $7,000. And we have some months where it gets as slow as only profiting like $5,000. So we kind of have to prepare for the summertime, which is usually the time where I have the least amount of work, and manage this money correctly, because the breakdowns in trucking are random and expenses could change from one day to another. For example, this year, I remember off the top of my head, I had my CPU computer breakdown and my clutch. My computer price and everything with labor was about $3,000. And then when the clutch broke down, I was 2 hours away from home. I had to tow the semi-truck to the yard, get it changed. I missed about 5 days of work, so I missed on some money there too. And that one cost me $3,500. So just right off the bat, those two expenses that I remember, it was around $6,500 in the two major ones. Other than that, the truck has been pretty good since I bought it. So, you know, just important to manage the money correctly, because not every month is going to look like this, and the slow months really suck. The goal at the moment is to add a second truck so I could free up some of my time. I'm still at the entry level, so pretty much what I do right now is I help the carrier / shipper pick up the container at the port, get it loaded, and make sure it gets delivered on time. That's how I make my money. Now, what I want to do is get to another level where I could deal directly with freight forwarders, and sometimes freight forwarders have a lot of volume, so it kind of depends what kind of services I have to offer. Sometimes they need space to park the containers. Sometimes they need you to unload a container at a warehouse because it's too heavy for the US roads, so you need to have access to a warehouse, forklift, and all that good stuff. So I'm trying to figure out different ways where I could provide those services so I can make some more money. Now, the funny thing is, I already had a second truck that I bought last year, but this is what the truck looks like right now. So that had a really big problem with the engine. I lost a lot of money. I'll give you guys a story time on that later on. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. $20,000 is how much I kept in my biggest month. And like I mentioned, my slow months, I could do from $6,000 to $7,000. On average, we try to make around $10,000 profit. The future goal is to try and stay at the $30,000 a month in revenue that I could bring in. And my goal right now is to keep about a 40-50% profit on that. So we'll see how that goes. But that's pretty much it for the numbers part. Let's finish that Q&A. All right, so let's get started with our first question from Ricardo. And the question is, why did you take a break from YouTube? So there's two reasons why I decided to take a break. One of the reasons was I ordered my food truck and it took about 10 months to get delivered. So I was like, you know what? Once I pick up the food truck, I'll pick up the camera again and make some videos. Now there's many reasons why I decided not to open my food truck. So I'll make a video on that later on. My second reason was trucking at the time started to slow down very, very fast. And it was getting really hard to stay in business. So when I make these videos, I like to consider myself like an educator instead of an entertainer. So I love to help you guys out, give you guys tips on how to stay in business, save money on taxes, insurance, all the good stuff. And at the moment, it was really hard to just pretty much be in business in the trucking industry. So it didn't feel right for me to make videos in a time where a lot of people were struggling. So yeah, that was honestly one of the main reasons why, which means now that I'm back to doing videos, there's a good reason why. I do see a lot of opportunities opening up again in trucking, so I'm excited to see how good it gets. So our second question here is from Omar. He's asking, how much should a truck driver be making after 4 years of driving? So if you're at least over the age of 25, the most I see these local companies pay is between $100,000 to $110,000 a year. So you should at least be aiming to make that much money, over 6 figures. What I always recommend everyone to do though is you have to open up your DOT number if you're interested in getting into trucking at all. That DOT number is gonna allow you to operate your trucking business. Right now, it is really difficult to get insurance if you have a trucking company. So opening up your DOT number and having it open for at least a year is gonna open up your opportunity to get insurance at a best price and not pay so much. So I give this advice to so many people. I decided to open up my own company doing this. We offer permits, LLCs, anything you need to keep your trucking business compliant. Now my team has over 6 years of experience. So if you guys are interested in more information, comment down below and we'll have my team reach out to you. Now check it out. In my opinion, the best way to get into the trucking business is to keep your steady job, open up your DOT number, try to make some connections, and let's say you find a good lane or a good opportunity to buy a truck. You're able to buy that truck and hire a driver to fill that position while you keep your job and test it out to see if it's something that's profitable. Maybe you could add a second truck on there and free up your time. So in my opinion, the best thing you could do is get your DOT number as soon as you can. There's no requirements. My cousin got his at 18 years old. He's about to turn 19 and he's gonna start experimenting with hiring a driver and getting some consistent work. So that is hands down the best way to go about it if you wanna get into the trucking business. So make sure you comment down below if you want more information and my team will reach out to you. All right guys, so we have 2 more questions. Our third question is from Trino, which is my cousin. What's up? So his question is, what led you to become a truck driver? So in my opinion, trucking was like the best industry to get into because the better I become at running a trucking business, I'm not necessarily needed behind the wheel. If I'm able to secure good contracts, good lanes, I could just hire drivers and make sure that everything gets delivered on time and take care of my equipment. So I got into trucking because I thought it was the best way to get time freedom. Now, as I mentioned, I did end up getting a second truck and things didn't work out, so I'm still working on freeing up some of my time. So that's why I got into trucking. So the last and final question that we have here is from Jose, and his question is, how has your experience been like an owner-operator since you started? Any tips? So the tips I have is when I first started trucking, I felt really comfortable because I found 2 contracts right away where I had consistent work, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my money, buy my food truck, and get out of trucking. And what I realized is that I was too comfortable in the beginning. Trucking should basically be like a sales job because you always need to look for new contracts, new lanes, because anything could happen. I had a contract that I was working for almost 2 years and I was making well over like $18,000 profit for almost 2 years straight. And that was like the best contract I ever had. And I got too comfortable there. Things slowed down, we got let go, and I was like, damn, what am I gonna do now? So the tips I recommend is always try to make connections, always try to meet new people, and you'll never run out of work. I've been in the business now for 4 years and I've had many connections, and that is the best tip I can give you guys. Always try to make new connections in the business. So that is pretty much it for today's YouTube video, guys. Comment down below anything you want to see and stay tuned for the next video.